BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. Basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, right to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. It is the Arizona Cardinals centric specific show where, of course, we talk about the Arizona Cardinals here in the Phoenix metropolitan area. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Javon J. Love Adams. And with me, as always, is the one and only Ed Easy Smith. Not only did he play professional baseball, but he also played in the National Football League for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. What is good, my brother?
Man, if I was sitting right next to you, man, right now, I'd give you a big old hug, bro, because I'm happy. Oh, happy day here in the Valley, bro.
happy day. Good Lord, man. I wanted to do this thing about 30 minutes ago because the Cardinals, well, anyway, so we do this thing at least twice a week. So last week we hit you up a couple of times. So we're gonna hit you up another time this weekend. We'll figure that thing out. But as we are recording this is the first night of the draft. So this is the first round of the NFL draft for 2023. And so, of course, the Arizona Cardinals were picking at number 3. And so we'll get into that in just a second. So definitely want to get your thoughts on all that stuff about being happy. And, my partner, Ed Smith, celebrates Christmas multiple times a year. And so for different sporting events that represent a Christmas feel to them. So we'll get into that. So before we get into what the Cardinals did for their pick, I wanted to get your thoughts on the number one overall. No, forget Bryce Young, number 1 pick. But how would you feel if you were CJ Stroud? You get picked number 2 by the Texans. There was so much information out there, and I would imagine it had to be from the Texans. I'm just speculating about that with the C2 score, the C2 test, or whatever the S2 test, whatever the S2 test, saying that he was not smart enough and all these different things. And then they go ahead and draft a number 2. And this is the team that you end up having to sign with and play with. I would be a little bit, I would feel, as they say, a certain type of way about that. What about you?
Oh, goodness. I think you have to look past that a little bit. I don't know what the tactic was behind it. Are we sure that Houston is the team that leaked it?
Yeah, good point.
There's a lot, maybe someone else was trying to leak it to ward off Houston from taking a pick, and then they would scoop in there and, do that thing. So I think the fact that Houston drafted you, bro, that's all that needs to be said. The heck with all scores or S2s and F1s and all that kind of stuff. They just said, look, we're picking you number 2, and that's all that matters at this point. Kiss, hug, do whatever you got to do, dap. It's now time to go to work. And like I said, I'm happy for that young man. And I'm glad all that stupidity about testing and stuff like that. I'm that dude. Look at the film. See what he did on the field.
True.
And
true indeed.
That enough about that. Now he's drafted by the Houston Texans. I hope he has a long, illustrious career, and all this will hopefully be a blip on the radar, a footnote. There you go, moving forward.
Yes, sir. So let's get into it. So the Cardinals were coming into this draft, picking at number 3. That's where a lot of people said that's where the draft would begin. So we sitting here waiting. I'm saying, man, I'm trying to get this run in. We're trying to get this thing in. I'm trying to go get a couple miles in or something like that. And so the Cardinals end up trading out of that spot. So they trade with the Texans for the number 12 pick. Texans, they ended up picking Will Anderson Jr., who was for the most part, for a lot of people, was the best defensive player in the draft. There could be some debate, but for the most part, I think there was a consensus on that. They picked Stroud, as I mentioned, with the number 2 pick. So they got the 2 and 3 pick. So they better have hit a home run on this because they made some moves here. But so the Cardinals ended up they got I want to say the 33rd. They swapped the third pick, which the pick
fell back to 12.
Right. So they got back to 12. So the Cardinals get a first and a third next year. So we're trying to figure out if that was the Texans pick or was that the Browns pick. So we'll figure that out in the wash there, as they say. The Texans got the 105th pick, which is the 4th round pick this year. So then, as we're going through it, I'm thinking, man, I got to wait about another half hour to get to this pick. Then it's reported that the Cardinals trade up to number 6. So they traded with the Lions. So they got the Lions got the 12th pick this year. Then what is it? I think the Cardinals got the second round pick number 34 this year. But the long story short is that the Cardinals ended up selecting an offensive lineman, Paris Johnson Jr., guard tackle kind of hybrid. How do you feel about that? They got an offensive lineman for couple of years. We've been more specifically, you more so than me, have been talking about the Cardinals maybe looking to maybe select that offensive lineman to see what that looks like. But so offensive lineman, I mean, I would have loved to have either had an edge rusher or a center, but they get a tackle or a guard. It's on television, it was praised, but I'm just curious to what your initial, without sometimes we don't go into the weeds with all this stuff with Paris Johnson Jr. Does he have good, get off on all that type of stuff? But what is your thought on Paris Johnson Jr.?
I am all in, and obviously this is only pick 1 in the new regime, but right out the gates, bro, I'm all in on their philosophy, and I'll give you a couple reasons why. One,
okay.
It would have been the obvious thing to do, stay at number 3, you pick Will Anderson. Hey, we're trying to, get that edge rusher and, start our new identity on the defensive side of the ball, that type of thing. Well, what they did was, and obviously Gannon is a defensive guy, right? So you would think he would shine toward his side of the ball. In reality, what they did, they had me thinking, and you and I, we were on the same text string as Earl and Sean, and they trade away falling back to 12. And what was the first thing we were like, oh my God, how stupid are they? You're falling out of the top 5 to 6 back to 12. There's going to be scraps left over by to get you at 12. And what did you get? You got draft capital for future. We're thinking, and all along what they were doing, they had their eye on Paris Jr., right? And they were thinking to themselves, hey, we can get some and get the dude we want. And then, so what they're doing, they're playing chess, bro. They're not playing checkers anymore.
You seem a little bit excited about this.
I am.
Good on this news.
What I tell you, bro, remember when a few weeks ago we were talking about the draft and we're talking about the fact we were like, hey, we don't know what they're going to do because obviously they didn't do a whole lot in free agency and we're just like questioning. And I said to you one time, I was like, when we get to the draft, we'll find out where their heads are and what their philosophy is. And, we could be all in for a very rude awakening. What this tells me, bro, is they have their priorities in order. Like I said, they could have did the easy thing and drafted Will Anderson. No, they finagled. They got out there, doing some moving, some shaking, some shifting. Yeah. And then you go, because I just jumped off on a different podcast and they're applauding, you're seeing already, they're applauding Paris Jr. as probably one of the top linemen in the draft. So regardless of where you use him, we're hoping he's going to be a tackle because you'd like him to be a tackle. That's the most important position on the offensive line, next to center, obviously. Yes. But you've already showed me you're looking to shore up that front. And for me to not do the obvious thing and you'll go get this young man to start on this offensive line because how many for the last few years, Jay? What do we always talk about?
We got Beecham and we have what am I thinking of? Not having the roster, but we have 2 tackles already in front, so it gives them an opportunity. So yes, I hear you.
What we've been talking about for the last few years is how you're going to continue to draft offensive linemen in the 4th and 5th and 6th round and expect to have something. They finally made this a priority, which you look at the teams that are so successful in this league, it's the teams that have those fronts assured up. And this was a great first move for me. And the fact that they didn't just do the obvious, because they could have been even stupider and just picked him at the 3rd spot. What they did though, they went and got something, gave up a little something to get a whole lot of something to then get the young man that they wanted probably all along. So they're showing me that they have the ability and the cognizant nature to, think 3 steps ahead. If we do this, because they very easily could have just picked him at 3 and everybody been like, well, that's a little bit of a stress for, but what they did is they jumped back to 12, but they also we got to remember, they got that first round pick for next year. And then they started using some of that capital to do this, back up 6 spots to the 6th spot to get him. And I'm excited because it shows me that, like I said, they're thinking more than just what's on the board. They're actually moving and putting pieces here and having conversations and then, like I said, to address a position that's not always sexy, because nobody wants to talk about the offensive line. It's all about the quarterbacks.
Offensive line is so important.
It's so important. So for me, man, that is, like I said, that's why I'm just saying I'm giddy, because they did it. They did it.
I haven't heard you this excited. We've been doing this thing for 4 years now, 4th year. So I've never heard you excited about a pick, because some of the picks, like a couple of picks, like with a couple of linebacker picks, like hybrid. Yeah. I say that with quotation marks. And so you were very critical of that. And then of course we know last year when we talk about, we essentially traded the pick to draft a wide receiver in essence.
Yeah. And then you go get a tight end, a position that wasn't even a priority for us. So, like the reason I'm sounding excited because somebody finally did something to excite me, man. And like I said, it's encouraging for me, because it really shows me that these dudes have done their homework, and they're not going to do the obvious. And what's going to be really exciting, and I'm hoping that they stay in this trend, because obviously this is just pick 1, Jay. They've got several picks coming up over the next few days. There might be a little more wheeling to get more picks, but I'm just really excited at the direction that they're heading in 1 pick. All these years you heard me after day 1, like, what the hell did we just do?
I have heard you, yes, sir.
Yes. So for me, this is really, really exciting that they actually thinking, I don't like to use all those cliches like thinking out of the box and stuff like that. I would just like to say they were actually thinking, doing something other than, imagine this.
That's an indictment of the previous regime for sure.
Right. I could, if you think about it, Keim, who was the leader of the pack, which, it was his drafts, but, I could see him sitting in a room right now looking at his board and just saying, hey, well, we got that guy drafted here. Let's just go get him. Not knowing that there were other moves, other things you could do. You could still go get what you wanted, but still come out ahead because you were, I guess, forward thinking enough to say, well, let's just not do the obvious. Let's see, let's make some calls. Let's do some things, And like I said, I'm excited because, man, you never know where we could go from here. Now, I will say this. They got a lot of holes to fill and a long way to go, because this roster has been stripped down to the bone. But it's a very good sign that one Paris Johnson Jr. is now a member of the Arizona Cardinals, and who knows where we'll go from here. But, like I said, I think Cardinals did a good job in this. It's just in this first, hour plus of the draft so far.
So again, believe in the Arizona Cardinals. So would you be okay with him just playing sparingly in his first year, since we have a couple of tackles already on the roster that are starting caliber?
Well, here's the thing with offensive linemen, it's not a position like with certain, positions like wide receiver, obviously quarterback. There's a lot, there's a lot of, well, we don't want to bruises, his confidence out the bat. We're let's bring him along slowly. With these offensive linemen, man, you want him to get out there, start getting accustomed to the speed of the game. Now, I'm not saying he starts right out the gate, but you definitely want him in rotation. And you're not worried about, if nothing else, he'll learn trial by fire within, the system. And you got, like I said, he's only going to get better the more reps he gets. Whereas like with quarterback, you put him out there and he might be damaged just because, he's out there getting sacked 20 times a game and, or if he's a wide receiver, he's just getting abused out there because the system is too much for him. With offensive lineman, man, from day one, you're going to want him out there. The quicker you can get him acclimated and get him into your rotation, hey, let's go. And like I said, if he has to learn, now the one thing, obviously, here's an advantage too, Jay. No disrespect to whoever's going to be the quarterback to start. Yeah. Whoever the quarterback is going to be to start the season, because we know it's not going to be one Kyler Murray, who was our quote-unquote franchise.
He got a statue, though. Got a
statue. But you're not necessarily like if Paris makes some mistakes the first few weeks of the season.
You cold-blooded. You cold-blooded like a Rick James song.
I'm just saying, you don't have your number one back there, so you can let him, while they're taking a stretcher out there to get the backup quarterback, be like, hey, Paris, come here. You don't want to do that. You open up the gate a little bit, and you let our quarterback get killed, but it's not our number one. We just got to work on that. So when we get Kyler back in, we can't have that kind of stuff, So maybe that's an incentive. The quicker you get him out there so he can learn some of the stuff. I'm just saying, cold-blooded. So get first round. So as we're recording this, the first round is still going on, but so we have multiple rounds to go, 2 through 7. So this at least gets off on a good start. So how many of the remaining picks? How many more quality or good or picks that make Ed say, good job? How many more do we need for you to say this is a good draft? 2, 3, 5? I'm trying to hit on as many as possible. Here's the thing. I think is I'm more apt to, it's the positions that they attack. Okay. We won't know the talent until it all comes, like I said, we get them on the field. But as far as like I said, the position, like right now, they follow this up by going and getting another hybrid, like Collins, and you're like, what the hell? But they go out and then go get an edge rusher who might be a second round pick, and then go get a cornerback, and you at least know they're on the right, they're sniffing the right sense. So talent wise, we can evaluate that down the road. It's the plan of attack that they have overall, meaning this is next. It shows that they have that grocery list. They always say never go shopping hungry. That type of thing. Hey, when you go out walk in, that looks good. Oh, I haven't had any Rocky Road in a while. You don't want to do that. You want to be fed. You want to have a plan. That's why Amanda makes a list. She don't go off that list too far. She might find a couple things that but when you go in with that list, that's going to keep you on track. So let's see if they got that list and they start picking things off the list and not, all of a sudden, oh, that dude, place kicker? Yeah, we could always use one of those,
All right, so we'll keep an eye on this and we'll see. So we'll probably be after the Saturday, after they finish on Saturday. Maybe we'll give another kind of just a good sum up here. So you have been listening to Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. We are presented by by Bet Online. By Bet Online, make sure you tell a friend about what we have going on here at Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, that's the first round of the playoffs, man. I mean, first round of the, for some it's the playoffs because you get Aaron Rodgers and you think you're going to the Super Bowl. You get 3 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks, and so you think that you all set up, and one of them sound, C.J. Stroud sounded like Nipsey Hussle talking about over here though, player over here though, cuz. But yeah, so we'll see how the Cardinals end up shaking out. So on behalf of the one and only Ed Easy Smith, I am Javon J. Love Adams, and as we always like to say around this time, you can.
So we see you again, folks. Be easy out there.